Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of You Can Be Unstoppable. And this week's episode is special because it's 100 episode. Woohoo! So, for this special episode, I invited 𝙂𝙞𝙣𝙘, my friend, who I met, when did we meet? 2 years ago or something like that?
Yeah. Well, we met in person just last summer, but we've known each other for at least 2 years in the TCP program that we were in.
Yeah, yeah. So we
Mhm.
met through a program that we did together, that's called TCP, and we met in person last year in all places, a wonderful tropical Mexico,
Mhm.
which it was amazing because you actually made an effort of coming over to Mexico because obviously you live in Hawaii and I live in Scotland. So we
We
made
met in
like
Mexico. I'm in the middle.
a okay. Um, so over there, and you made that point to coming over, so which was amazing. And you were my first guest on a podcast. I can't actually remember what episode that is, but you've
I
listened
think
to
it's
it.
47.
It's a 47.
I
It's
think
interesting.
so.
Kind of halfway through, so we are 100 episode. So I thought it make fitting to invite you back so that you can interview me. And yeah, I kind of want to make this a more of a conversation, but I want you to ask me questions. And I thought it just makes so much sense. We met through this amazing program, met last year in person. You were my guest, so it just makes sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I'm excited to be here with you. This is a celebration.
it is
100.
because exactly, blimey, 100. It's been a while. So,
You
welcome to
turning it
my
over to me? Is it?
absolutely.
Yay, it's my turn to talk. Okay, I'm excited because we are turning the tables on this episode. I get to interview Evelina, and that's going to be amazing. I've never done this before. And so I'm going to start off with the beginning. So she and I met in the transformation coaching program with Jim Fortin, and we've done a lot of transforming together. And I find it super impactful when somebody says they're going to do something and they do it. And that's integrity. And that's exactly what I see in Evelina. She's super committed to showing up. And a lot of us, like myself, who started a podcast 2 years ago and never continued, um, it's a commitment. Not only is it the time that you spend here delivering Evelina, you have to create the show notes, you have to market it. There's a lot of steps to building a podcast and getting your word out there and getting yourself out there and getting people to hear you, right? So let's start at the beginning. When you created this podcast, what was your initial vision? What did you want to create?
That's a great question. And I don't necessarily think I was thinking in such a big picture at the time. That was before
Mhm.
TCP when I started. So that was before this, huge kind of transformational, just on a transformational journey, but I don't think it was to the same degree since I joined and did 4 rounds of TCP. It was something that was suggested to me by a business coach that I was working with at the time, and she kind of suggested as a good way to spread my word and the message that I wanted to talk about. It was all about, at the time for me, about empowering women to really show up for themselves. There was something always quite important to me. I grew up in a very, very deeply Catholic, communist, and post-communist Poland. When women's role is about, which is nothing wrong with it, so don't get me wrong, but it's all about being a mother, a provider, where putting your needs and your self-care is not something that women are encouraged and actually is seen as selfish. as something we don't do, and we're very judgmental when women do put themselves forward. So there was something quite deeply close to my heart. So that was the idea behind it. I wanted to empower women and talk about that is actually a form of self-care, to look after ourselves. And is the idea that we cannot give from an empty cup. We cannot give when we're super stressed or burnout. Yet that's how most women show up
Mhm.
in relationship with themselves, with the children, with the parents, with husband, at work, in the business. Like we still do not put ourselves first. It's that stigma. So that was the idea behind it. Uh, so I did say at the beginning that I didn't see the big picture, but that is quite a big picture, isn't it?
It is. It's huge. It's impacting the whole of womankind, right? It's giving them the fuel to stop and say, yeah, I matter. I do so much for so many, and I deserve this time out for myself, and I deserve to give myself what I need to make me happy. And that's so empowering. And you're right. It's so needed. And I also can relate to you growing up and the stereotype of women. I also was also raised Catholic by my grandmother, and
Mm.
it's such a different world now because I noticed my son is in his early 20s. Soon he'll be 20. This new generations that are coming out now, they're starting, the shift is here. It's
Yeah.
happening. And for us in our, well, for me, I'm older than you, but for us to recognize the shift that's happening right now, to see that we can actually, no matter what age, empower other women to connect, to kind of step out of their shell and harness their goodness, and so that they can serve from a deeper level. When our cup is filled, then we can fill others, right?
Absolutely. I think you can see this, like you say, with the younger generations. Like, why do we have to follow the system? Or why do we have to do, because it's always been done like this? I was like, so what? Like, it's just
Yeah,
because something's been done for generations or decades, it doesn't mean that is right or valid or ever was valid, or maybe was valid, but it's not valid anymore. Like
right.
I'm all about empowering women to question, like, is this how I want to live? Because there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong to be a mother and don't work and be, at home. If that's what you want to do and that fills your values, go for it. But be sure that this is actually what you want to do, rather than that's something that's been imposed to you because that's how your mom left or your grandma left. Make sure that the way you live is because you decided that this is for you. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think that there could potentially be conflict in families if women don't wake up to this idea, because their children are in a different generation and they're experiencing life on a different level. And there's going to be conflict in families if we don't recognize where our children are at and where we are and meet in
Mhm.
the middle, so we can, fully live the best lives and not by what other people impose on us, and just to really be the creators of our life together, right? And give our children wings instead of shackles.
Absolutely. And for me, it's not to pass the generational trauma, because for the most
Hmm.
part, we do this unconsciously. I really believe for the most part, no one wakes up in the morning and is thinking, how am I going to mess up my child this morning?
Right.
It's just, we've got this unconscious ways of being and beliefs patterns that we've picked up from, our moms, from our grandmothers, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's right, but we don't question those things, unfortunately. I've had this quote, which I don't remember, but it's about, like, we don't think about questioning values, especially those we think are right, because what are values and kind of what are beliefs, it's just a thought that is repeating over and over and over.
Mhm.
So just because you believe that something is true and valid doesn't mean that it is. So for me, it's all about becoming aware, and in tune with the deeper sense of who we are.
Yeah, I love that. And okay, that now let's take that thought and bring it back to the podcast. The name of your show is called You Can Be Unstoppable. Where did that come from? Where did that title come from?
Yeah, so when I said that my previous coach was kind of encouraging me to start podcast, and we were kind of pondering how do we want to tell it, what is the name?
Mm,
And we landed on You Can Be Unstoppable because I wanted to kind of bring the idea that you can be unstoppable. And how that looks for you is very individual. So my unstoppable is going to be different to yours. So, okay, identifying how do I want to live my life? What is my unstoppable? For me, it's traveling, it's growing, evolving, transformation,
mhm.
meeting people across the world. That's
Yeah.
my unstoppable life. Like I don't have children. I do not desire to have children. That's me. That's my unstoppable life. So it's about empowering you to live your unstoppable life. But that comes with clarity. That takes a lot of courage to live the
Courage.
way you
Yes.
want,
Mhm.
So it's about identifying who you really are. What are
Mhm.
your values? What do you want? So that needs clarity. It takes a lot of, again, I'm gonna say courage, like you mentioned earlier, because you may get a backlash from part of your family or friends, questioning you, like, why are you doing this? Why are you, throwing away a good career that you've spent
Right.
years building?
Right.
It's about, figuring out what is that you want and what is your unstoppable life.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because you know my story,
Mm.
like, yeah, and but you know what? Sometimes it just comes down to it is to take a chance. You don't know, sometimes we get to a point in the road where we can take the left road or the right road, and truly either decision will be good. Whatever you decide, it always ends up the right for to be a learning experience for you, right? So so now you use this podcast to help empower women, but you also teach them about their subconscious mind and how they can control their thoughts and create the future that they want through hypnosis. Can you like explain a little bit about the type of hypnosis that you do? Because there's many different types, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about optimizing your brain and how you use it because we, show up for ourselves every single day, not even realizing that for the most part we misuse the power of our brain because no one teaches this at school. And that is one of my things that, you go to school and they teach you so many useless things. And they don't teach you the most, important one, like, meditation, mindfulness, like learning the power of the word, learning the power of your thinking, your emotions, all those things. So for the most part, we are using the brain in the wrong way. So it's about how do we optimize what we use every single day. And I use rapid transformational therapy, which is a form of hypnosis created by Marissa Peer. And I find it absolutely fascinating because it brings a lot of the modalities together. It brings hypnosis, it brings coaching, brings NLP, elements of psychology all together. And it gets to the root cause of your problems. Because if we are struggling with procrastination, if we struggling with setting boundaries, we are feeling stuck, we have some emotional problems, trauma from the past, those are for the most part symptoms of a deeper problem going on. It's because if
Mhm.
you procrastinate, maybe the actual problem is the fact that you think that you are not good enough or you're not worthy enough.
Mhm.
So, there were tools that we created when we were children, and RTT allows us to find the root cause because it's like if you've got a flu or something is wrong with your body, if you go to the doctor, they treat the symptoms quite often, but we need to find the root cause of the disease to really heal yourself. And the same goes for hypnosis. You need to find the root cause of what is actually going on. And RTT allows us to really get to the bottom. And then, we get the clarity, we can build what is that we really want to have in our life. How do we want to be? The concept of being, how we want to feel. But we need to be very clear, and RTT allows us to do that. And with the tools that I've learned through, we did NLP together. No, actually, we didn't, but I did the
Yeah,
NLP
we did.
in Mexico. I teach women how to optimize the power of the mind. Why it's important to prioritize your self-care, how to set boundaries, how we use hypnosis every single day. Every single one of us use hypnosis, self-hypnosis daily, but we don't know this. No one teaches us that this is what it is. Um, engaging in repetitive negative thoughts or worrying, that's type of self-hypnosis that unfortunately is bringing what we don't want. So
Yeah.
I combine hypnosis with coaching to tackle your presenting issue from the unconscious and subconscious level. So that way we've got the best chances of a huge level of transformation in, let's say, 3 months, that you can really transform your life and your business and your career, whatever it is that you are struggling with. Because there's this concept, how we do one thing is how we do everything. We take ourselves everywhere. Like I had this
That's a good one. Yeah.
like you can leave your job, you can leave your relationship, you can move cities. If you're not going to work on yourself, you're taking yourself and your BS to the
Yeah.
next relationship, to the next job, to the next city, and sooner or later you recreate whatever you were running away from. So I had this
Mhm.
conversation with my brother
Yeah.
about this recently, and about him, getting some help with his stuff. Because and there was that conversation. I said, you're gonna take your BS to the next point in your life.
Yeah.
You need to, slow
Right.
down and look within. And that's what
Hmm.
hypnosis is doing for me, is looking within, so that when we engage in the next level of business, when we want to get a new relationship or a new career, or we want to change something in your life, it comes from within. Is that idea that we've learned in TCP, identity. We
Hmm.
are how we see ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's a very long-winded answer.
No, I love it. I love talking with you because we share so many common interests. Like we both did NLP, and we both have been doing, work on our identity and our boundaries and all of these things. And it's so cool to speak with somebody who understands me. And one of the topics you brought up earlier, which I totally am like, I love, is this idea of generational trauma and how
Mm.
but sometimes the life that we are living is not just our experience of life, it's actually deeper. And the cool thing about tying into the subconscious mind is the subconscious mind remembers everything.
Mm.
Like it remembers things from past lives and it to you. And so sometimes we might find ourselves in patterns in our life and we wonder how to get off the wheel because the wheel keeps spinning the same way and we're stuck, in our minds. We're stuck. We can't do anything. It's hopeless. We're helpless, and all of that. And so from what I'm hearing from you is that this process can get you off the hamster wheel and get you back into the game and creating your own destiny. Apart from the generational issues that may be present in your body. Is that what you do?
Absolutely. It allows us to really look within and untangle those patterns, because we all have patterns, whether that is a pattern the way we thinkings is the habit of thought, habits the way we show up in a relationship, so behavioral patterns, we are walking habits. Everything is a habit.
Yeah.
And when we unravel those patterns and get to the root cause, then we've got a level of awareness that allows us to see when we engage in those patterns again, and then comes back to choice. Because once you are aware where that pattern originated from, why you're behaving in a certain way, because when you engage in something for decades,
Mm.
for the most part, it takes us time to change, to rewire the mind. But then you make a choice every single time. Do I want to continue or do I want something else? And that goes
Mhm.
back to responsibility. You kind of said it earlier, like you are being responsible for how
Mhm.
you show up for yourself. Are you continue in a way that actually is not helping your life and not helping your business or whatever that is, or you choose to be responsible and take yourself off the victim mentality and blame the outside and say, oh, it's the environment. If only my husband, change the way he's talking to me, then things will be, right. If only my kids behave, then I will be
Right.
okay. He's blaming the outside. He actually taking responsibility for your life and
Mhm.
where you want to go. Well, I need to stop you, but because my battery is running away, I will go cut this out.
Okay, I'll be here running the Zoom. So I love this conversation, and I love that a lot of times we're raised thinking that we are where we are and there's nothing we can do about it, and we're just in like a holding pattern, and we wait for the opportunity or for the man to come into our life or the job, and this holding pattern can just keep us safe, but it also stops us from experiencing life to the fullest level. So I appreciate what you are doing and empowering women to realize that and at any time you can make a decision. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require courage, but you have the support of Evelina and other people that can lift you up and help be by your side so that you can start to make the changes that you need to make in your life, because we only have one life. We have one life, and living in the bubble, in that safe zone, it's just not fun. It's and it's stopping you from being the best that you can be. So I applaud you, Evelina. I just really appreciate what you're doing for the women of the world, and especially for me and my friendship with you. Like, here we have met in person and experienced some travel together, and I'm just so grateful because when you meet someone in person, you just have such an opening, loving presence. And we just met, and you're like, you don't have to look for Airbnb, stay here, it's okay. And and that was just so welcoming, and it took so much stress off of me when we were in Mexico and we first
Yeah.
met. And I was like, I don't have an Airbnb, where am I going to go? You're like, stay here, it's okay. And you supported me in that moment, and we had so much fun together. And I believe
Oh,
that's what more people need to have, friendships like this, or more women that can inspire us to just go for it, just freaking do the thing, and then move on. Yeah,
absolutely.
so I just wanted.
And like going back to courage, it's like I went traveling last year for quite a few months, and that's how we met. And people were like telling me like, and you went on your own, and were you not afraid? And it's like it's not for everyone. I give you this. You need
Mm,
to be courageous the way you show up for yourself, and courageous the way you're reaching for what you want. So let's say the last year wasn't all roses, wasn't all beautiful. There were beautiful parts and there were very challenging aspects into, what showed up in my life. But the level of growth and expansion can only happen when you put yourself outside your comfort zone. When you do something that's uncomfortable, that is challenging you, that is when we grow and evolve. It's not always pretty. It's not always easy and fun. But believe me, it happened to me a number of times over my lifetime. I always was so much better off once I went past that, uncomfortable growing pains. Always.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that stretch, when you stretch, then you can actually notice what's possible, which is anything.
Mm,
Anything is possible when you just extend yourself outside and dip your toes in and then step out and realize that the world is huge and there's so many opportunities, so many people that can come into your life if you're just open to it and you take a risk. Yeah, just like
absolutely.
you're doing with this podcast. And to wrap this up, I'm just so grateful for you and our friendship, and also that you allowed me to share this experience with you. 100 podcasts, it's super inspiring. 100 episodes, and yeah. It's just amazing, and I just am so thankful for you, and I wish you the best, because it's only through women like you that create the spark for others to continue and just show up and be the best we can be. So thank you so much for that, Evelina.
Well, thank you for
Do you want to
being
say anything? Yeah, do you want to add anything before we head out?
Well, obviously, I share the same sentiment. It was lovely to meet you in person and have you as a friend. It was a huge experience, like you said. We just met in person and we like shared a bed, which was
Yeah,
like,
we did. We shared a bed. And it was nice. Because I felt welcomed, and that I could sleep soundly. And normally if you're with, a stranger, you'd feel like uncomfortable, but I felt completely at ease with you, and I just felt like your family. That's how I felt. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. That's what I'm the same. That it can be very uncomfortable when you even sleep with a family member. In the same room, not mentioning sharing a bed. And I felt totally at peace with you. Like I could totally let go and just go into sleep. And that says a lot about kind of energetic connection.
Right.
When you feel safe with someone you just met in person,
Yeah.
it says a lot about us as humans,
Yeah.
and it was a phenomenal trip. It was amazing to meet you and continue, to be, friends, and we connect. And I have, the same I've got for you. You bring so much wisdom and so much amazing healing power
Mhm.
to the people that you work with. And this is probably why we connected. We share so much in terms of what we value, and the way the work we do. Although it's not necessarily the same, but kind of
Mhm.
in a ballpark, in the same space. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm sure that we will meet in person again somewhere in the world.
I would love that. Yeah. We had a great time in Mexico. So much fun. And I know that this friendship will last a long time. So
Um,
to future travels, yay. I'm open for that.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for coming here and interviewing me and sharing this and a huge time for me, because 100 episodes, it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of
Hmm.
my time and effort to keep showing up. So thank you for being
Yeah.
here. It was a fantastic conversation. And
Yes.
yeah, it's
Thank
just
you.
lovely to have you here. And I'm just feeling the energy. Like we always kind of, the energy is always high when we talk.
Yeah, it is. We could go on and on. So if you're
So,
just listening to the podcast, if this is the first time you're here with Evelina, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. She brings so much value to your life and a lot of good energy. So we all need that. We all need to be pumped up and feel good about ourselves. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone.
awesome. Thank you for being here. And I'll see everyone on a 101 episode. Bye.